Wow, here we are in Germany, Wetzlar, at the Leica headquarters, and I'm very much looking forward to this video. You've probably seen a little bit of it in the thumbnail, but I'm here with Ivor from Red Dot Cameras and a couple of the others, and we are going to explore a very, very interesting story that relates to the 100 years of Leica. Ivor, tell us a bit about it.
Well, some years ago, I had the opportunity to buy myself a Leica 1A, a 3-digit number, which they don't turn up very, very often. In fact, it's got the L-Max lens on it. My good friend Frank Dabba Smith, I asked him to see what research, so he spoke to the museum and the archive department, and they found the listing. It turns out this camera was actually produced on the 26th of June, 1925. The other thing that made this all like coincidental, they have actually got in their museum 554. And I thought, we can't let this go. So we spoke to Leica and said, we really need to get these together and do a story about them. They said, great, come over. We'll even have a birthday party. So what you're about to see is all the things we discovered about it.
Yeah, what we can do is we'll find the original books.
We are here in the Leica archives with Ivor from Red Dot Cameras and Tim, and we're going to be talking about some very old cameras, and I'm going to lead them to it and let them explain the whole thing. But it's an absolute pleasure to be here. What a location we're at, and some beautiful cameras in front of us. Enjoy the conversation, guys.
You can. Well, Tim and everybody out there, around 1914, I had the opportunity to buy a Leica 1A with the L-Max lens, serial number 555. I didn't give it any thought about, obviously, the date. I knew it was very early, 1925, and it's been in the store for a long, long while. And of course, as time's gone along, all of a sudden, it's like I realised a couple of years ago, sound a bit crazy, we're talking it's 100 years old. And I was talking to a dear friend of ours, Frank Dabba Smith, about he'd known that we've had 555 for a long while, and he came back to the store one day and told me Life Group got 554, and I was like, "Whoa, what's the odds of having consecutive number cameras?" So it became a little bit of a quest for myself. I thought we've got to come back over to Germany, get them together, and see what bits of history we can find out about this pair of cameras. I don't want to neglect as well. Actually, I've also got, which is all part of the history, another 3-digit, which is number 756. And there's some subtle differences between those two and this one, which I think now is that we could talk about. I say, obviously, so even comparing just these two cameras that are consecutive, there's to me, one major difference. Obviously, Tim, maybe, I don't know if you'll be able to show it, but when we got them both together, the shutter release on my one actually has a dimple in the center, which allowed people to fit a special sort of clip device and a cable release. And yet the model before has got what's known as a mushroom shutter release, but doesn't actually have the dimple in the middle. I mean, that was one thing that sort of stood out to me. Another little, I say, subtle change, even down to the advanced wind lever on this one, is quite sharp on this edge, and there is actually, I won't obviously touch it, a slight curvature to it. So there are a few little differences. I mean, the condition and the paint on yours is superior to mine. The shoes are identical. The rewind knob, I think, you've got the arrow there. It's a little faint to see. Well, for me, the shutter button is really where there is a difference between the two cameras. Even again, underneath, if we look at the base plates, I think mine obviously had a lot of wear, and whoever bought this one, maybe used it a little, but it was then put away. You can tell even from the condition of the nickel, and compared to yours, is far superior on it. Whereas on mine, it's, I suppose, well loved or cherished. And actually, my one, I had a case. Now, a lot of these cameras came in a tall upright case that had the film cassettes. I was told that this case was also period correct And Leica actually didn't make an individual ever-ready case as we know them today, but they outsourced this sort of case. So I believe, I was informed that this is the correct case as well to the cameras. In looking at the archives, here we have, I suppose, if you want to refer to it as I suppose the manifest, the delivery sheet, and you can actually see on here number 554, okay, was supplied to a dealership in Prague, and my one was supplied actually to E-Lights in Berlin. So we know where they came from in that respect. We did find, looking at another book, a service record in 1930. We're not sure what actually was done to it. It was only here for one day. It literally came, had whatever was necessary. Maybe it was just a simple service. The next day the job was complete. This one, okay, if we would talk about number 75, get this right, Ivor, 786, get the right one. This was supplied actually to a London dealership. He actually ordered, I think there was 6 according to your manifest. It would have been an LMAX as well. At some point in its life, it probably came back to, whether it came back to Germany. This would have been upgraded. Leica offered people the opportunity to send back their camera with the LMAX. The shutter mechanism in both of these, when you wind it on, is very, sound like an old clock. It's very ratchety. Whereas in this one, it has a much smoother shutter. The shutter release mechanism's been changed. The Elmar lens has been changed. Even the shoe. This is the square rectangle. These have a curvature. So this one clearly, at some point in its life, came back, got upgraded, and obviously then returned to the customer. So whilst they are June the 26th, 1925, and this one was August 1925 when it left originally.
I didn't see in my life many consecutive cameras with a consecutive number, and I like, and you see the complete difference here between 554 and 555, and this camera was used, and this camera was originally delivered to Anstalten Berlin. Maybe it was used as a display model or for teaching or something like that. This camera is in our museum, and you can see it there in the niche together with the place we made an area like the original Oscar Barnack workplace with a table and a chair and so on. So yeah, the leather act here is in much better condition than here. Here it's started to break, so we have to be very
open eye.
Yeah, but it's interesting that this camera was upgraded later. Yeah, and that is in the tradition of Leica, that you can use everything nearly together. The system still works.
Not talking about a specific value, but obviously original was always better. You know, when we do it, even if you have a modern camera and Leica will say, "Oh, send it back, we can upgrade it." And you don't think in 100 years' time, look, this is now 1/10 of the value of these items. You're still obviously very, very interested. In fact, I know with my one, we did run a test film for it just a couple of weeks ago, and unfortunately, though the shutter is working, is obviously cracks in the shutter blinds. Okay, you know, it's not pinholes, it's seriously cracks, which happens in 100 years.
Yeah.
Now, I could have the shutter repaired or replaced. I wouldn't do it. It's original. And let's be truthful, I wanted to run film.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, why would I want to physically use it? So I had no intention of actually upgrading or repairing the shutter and replacing it. I want to leave the 100-year-old shutter in it.
We did some celebrations in New York, in Milano, and in Frankfurt. We started with the first exhibition of 100 years of Leica, and now you are here with such a nice camera from the year 1925, when the Leica camera was introduced officially into the market. And it's really a coincidence that we have these consecutive numbers here, and I'm really fascinated. This camera looks very. This camera had a life.
Oh, yeah.
This is what many customers like when the painting here is missing and the brass is coming. You can see the brass there, and yeah, I was thinking about how many interesting pictures were taken.
Yes, I have the same.
It's 100 years old. Yeah, really fascinating. Yeah,
we do happen to both know
Hmm?
there's a gentleman in the US at the moment that is reproducing some film stock from 1925, all with the same emulsions and chemicals. And we've both been conversing with this gentleman about, I've learned a little about the different cassette sizes and what was involved to getting this film running. When I learned about this, I was like, wow, could I be able to get some of this and run 1925 type of film in it?
Yeah.
As I say, it turns out the shutter curtains are cracking up, so I'm not going to pursue and pester the man for the film. He's actually also trying, I think, in a 1A from about 1930, and he is, as we speak, literally running some old film, reproduce the film of 1925. That's his speciality.
Yeah.
Which is also, he's interested that come the anniversary, he thought, I should make some more film for the correct period. I'm not the only like a nerd out there.
And what I still like is this. It's a camera 100 years old or more than 100 years old, and and it's really small and handy, and you can get it in your hands. Yeah, this is really fascinating. Today we have huge and big cameras, but this is still gives you the feeling what was a new thing in 1925. Yeah, came with the very bulky cameras with plates on the and so on. And this is what the cameras makes very special until today.
Yeah, you're quite right, because I've been in the industry now for getting on for about 30 years, and a long while ago someone gave me a gift of a book, and it said the miniature camera, and I opened it up and it was all Leica, and I'm thinking, well, that's not a miniature camera, but that's because in my mindset 35mm was the normal size camera. But at that point, okay, as you say, plate cameras and larger roll film. So in a way, it was the miniature camera for in that 100 years ago. This is what we'd be saying as a miniature camera.
Yeah, and Mr. Barnack, when he developed the camera, the code word was Lilliput.
Yeah, interesting. A little bit of a
Lilliput camera, and so for a very small camera.
Do you think Oscar Barnack may have handled these, like physically? Yeah, would he have been on the factory? Or is his DNA inside these cameras?
There's much DNA for it. So this. You think it is something that he may have actually tapped?
I say like a nerd, you see, that's only people like me with things like that.
I can't prove it, but I think that he checked nearly every camera out the first.
That's good enough. It's amazing. He checked it, and it was passed by Mr. Barnack himself.
And then cameras came back to repair. Yeah, he checked them because he wanted to know what happened with the camera to make it better the next time. Yeah, to improve the camera. Yeah, early in because it's such a product was never produced before by us. Yeah, they were very experienced with microscopes and one got with a camera, but not with a camera.
Well, thank you, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed this, and thank you for your Tim. It's been a wonderful experience and something that's a nice opportunity to have such a thing. In fact, if you ever get to break into this part of Leica, it's just unreal, but especially for someone like myself.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure. Maybe next time we bring another treasure to us.